This fall, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker will face his third election before the voters of Wisconsin in 4 years. And while he's probably feeling pretty good about winning in 2010 and surviving the 2012 recall election, new polling this week should have him worried. The new numbers from Rasmussen, generally considered to be a GOP-friendly polling outfit, show Governor Walker tied with his likely Democratic challenger, former State Commerce Secretary Mary Burke. So that's the bad news for Scott Walker this week. But here's some potentially good news for a guy facing a tough race. Republicans in his state are moving ahead this week with restrictions on early voting, restrictions that will make voting less convenient for Wisconsinites in heavily Democratic areas. Plus, there's the state's controversial 2011 voter ID law. It was held up in court during the 2012 election, but rulings in the lawsuits against it are expected soon. And if it is struck down, Walker wants everyone to know he is fully prepared to call the legislature to a special session to fix the law and get it on the books in time for the election in November.
The only real thing I thought that was pressing, and may still continue to be pressing depending on what the court reacts on, is voter ID. If the courts, regardless of which court it would be, were to say we think you can have it if not for this provision or that provision, we want to modify that so that a law like that were in effect before the next election.
Scott Walker, in other words, wants to make sure it is harder to vote in Wisconsin just in time for voters there to decide on his own re-election. Joining me now is Walker's likely Democratic opponent this year, Mary Burke, former Wisconsin Secretary of Commerce. We reached out to Scott Walker's office to invite him on the show, and we would love to have him as well sometime. Really nice to have you here.
Chris, great to be here.
Okay.
Thanks.
The first question is, this guy's been through 2 elections in 4 years, basically. What's different in the case you're making now than the last 2 cases unsuccessfully made against him?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I'm a very different candidate. But 2010 wasn't a great year for Democrats across the country. So that was a different time as it is now. The recall election became about one issue, Act 10, and that's about it. We also know that in Wisconsin, we believe in fairness. You know, some people didn't go to the polls or they voted for Walker simply because they said maybe it wasn't fair to recall.
They didn't believe in the process.
Exactly. So this is going to be a great race. It's going to focus not only on Walker's record as governor, which the people of Wisconsin, I think, will not agree has been good on terms of jobs. And it's also going to be about a different vision for the state.
So why should you be governor, not him?
Well, we need, frankly, to focus on the issues that matter most to the people of Wisconsin. I have a 30-year track record as an executive in the private sector. I put problem solving ahead of the politics. It's not working in Washington and it's not working in Madison to have politicians putting special interests and partisan politics above the issues that matter most to the people.
But that is about who you are and not what you are going to do. What are you going to do that is going to put Wisconsin on a better track than Scott Walker has it?
I'm going to create more jobs. That's what the people in Wisconsin care about.
Can governors do that?
Yeah, they can. They can invest in the type of things like education and infrastructure. We have to make sure that our students, when they're graduating from high school, are going to be trained and ready to take on careers or go to college. Our economy needs to be creating way more people with the skills to meet the jobs of tomorrow. And Governor Walker has actually cut education at a time when we need to be doubling down and investing in education and making sure our kids are prepared for the future.
The jobs argument has been an early one in this campaign. I want to play a little part of an ad from your first ad hitting Scott Walker for his jobs record. Take a listen.
Under Walker, unemployment's up, job prospects are down to 45th in the nation, and the layoffs continue. Now,
Unemployment going up. This got brushed back by quite a few people, including PolitiFact in Wisconsin, the Walker campaign, saying, no. The official unemployment rate in Wisconsin when Scott Walker took over was higher than it is now. Is that a lie?
No, I mean, the unemployment rate when I was Commerce Secretary was 4.8%. It's now 6.2% under Walker. You know what? That's up in anyone's book that I know.
But do you really believe that? Do you really believe that you were responsible for the unemployment rate as Commerce Secretary in that period, and he's responsible for now? Isn't it just macroeconomic factors in the country?
Well, you know, the Republican Governors Association's attack was that I had somehow caused a $130,000 job loss, along with a huge budget deficit that occurred 2 years after I left Commerce. So this is just laying out the facts, which people need to know in Wisconsin. The unemployment rate was 4.8% when I was Commerce Secretary. It was a great time. We had 73,000 more jobs in the state than we have currently. So those are the facts.
Act 10, which was the sort of defining feature of 2.5 years of Wisconsin politics. Would you repeal it in office?
Well, I believe our public sector employees have the right to collectively bargain. That doesn't stand in the way of having effective, efficient, and accountable government. And we have to make sure that we are attracting great people to the public sector.
Dodge. Would you repeal the act?
I would make sure, I would work hard to restore collective bargaining is what I would do.
These voting rights, voting restrictions. There's restrictions now on early voting that are being implemented. There's the contentious voter ID law. What's your reaction to the move by the Republicans in the state to cut back on voting time?
I think it's a desperate attempt to influence the election in November, and it shows that they are worried. You know, making sure, putting up barriers to people voting. I mean, this affects seniors and veterans and students, and disproportionately affects those in urban areas. As governor, I want to make sure that everyone who is eligible to vote is able to vote.
Your business career was in the company Trek, makes bicycles in the great state of Wisconsin. A great company, makes great bikes. How big is the bike voting block in Wisconsin? Can you turn those people out, or those are kind of like defining caucus? You can get to the polls.
Yeah, I think they're going to be my people. I think I'm going to be able to get the biking
people. The question is how many of them there are. Mary Burke, who is running for governor of Wisconsin. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, coming up. A new first-of-its-kind report on the economics of the sex industry in this country has some amazing information in it. Like sex workers in Atlanta offer Veterans Day specials. We'll talk about what else is in that report and debate whether it makes a persuasive case for making that industry legal. Stick with us.